Okay guys, so we are doing a second review for the test. It's a big test, so let's understand this stuff. And let me tell you this right now, that what we have written on the board right here, these notes, is everything you need, everything you possibly need, right? Every single question that I give you is pretty much the same process, right? So for example, if I give you 2 points, what could you do with 2 points? You could use the slope formula to get the slope. And once you have the slope, and obviously you had points to start with to get the slope formula or to do the slope, you're going to have a point and a slope, which means you could go for point slope form. That's why I wrote point slope form second, even though this was not the form that we learned right after slope formula. So anyways, if I give you points, you're going to be able to find the slope. Once you find the slope, you could use that slope and the x1, y1 from your point to write it in point slope form. And if they ask for it in point slope form, you would be done right there just by plugging in the x1, y1, and the m that you just found using the slope formula. But let's say they didn't ask for it in point slope form. Let's say they asked for it in slope intercept form. You would distribute the m to both terms. That way you won't have parentheses. And then you get rid of this number by, let's say it was a -3, you would add 3 and add 3. Then you'd have y by itself, and that would technically be slope intercept form. And even if I didn't ask for slope intercept form, if I asked for standard form, all you would have to do is make sure that you don't have fractions and get rid of this x term. So like if you had a 3x right here, you would subtract 3x and subtract 3x. Then you would have your x and your y on the left side of the equal sign and your number by itself, and that's what we call standard form. So the notes that are on the wall is the process of every single question that I give you. Of course, it's all the same thing, but of course I want to give you different ways of presenting information. I may give you 2 points. That's when you start with the slope. That's when you start with the slope formula. I may give you a point and a slope. Well, then you would just start with point slope form. I may give you a slope and a y-intercept. Well, a slope and a y-intercept, you would start with slope intercept form, right? So let's go through some of these. In this case, I just gave you a graph of a line here, okay? A graph of a line. And let me make this a little smaller, a little bigger. Okay, so we have our, whoops, sorry about that. We have our line, and they want us to write the equation of this line in all 3 forms. So let's write it in point slope form, yeah? How could I write this line in point slope form? Well, I need a point and I need a slope. Could anybody tell me a slope of this line? How do you find the slope? What is a slope? It's a steepness, right? Which is rise over run. So what is the slope of this line? Yep, it's 2 over 1. If you compare any 2 coordinates, like this point right there and this point right there, it's going up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1, it'll get to that point. And it doesn't matter if you use this point and that point. You could have used this point and also, let's say, this point. You would still rise 1, 2, 3, 4, run 1, 2. So rise is 4, run is 2. 4 over 2, it would still reduce for the slope being 4 over 2 reduces down to 2 over 1, okay? So still, the slope is 2. So just by looking at this line, I know that my slope is 2. And if I wanted to write it in point slope form, all I have to do is pick a point. So like, let's say we use this point that they labeled as A. That's the location 3, 2, right? This point A is 3, 2. So if you're using that point, you would use that as x1, y1. And of course, we're going to be plugging in the x1 right there in the point slope form and the y1 right there and the slope of 2 that we just found by counting rise over 1 right there. So in point slope form, we would have y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. I just rewrote this, but I wrote it with blank spots so I could easily plug in the x, the y, and the m. So the x is 3. Put that where the x1's at. The y is 2. So the y1 is 2. Put that where the y1's at. And the m is 2. So m is right there. Put the 2 right there. That's now in point slope form. If they asked you, write the equation in point slope form, this would be it. This is your answer, point slope form. Now, what if they asked you to write it in slope intercept form? What would I have to do to change this to slope intercept? You'd have to get rid of the parentheses, right? How do you get rid of the parentheses? By multiplying, by distributing. So if I were to distribute 2 times x, that will be a 2x. And then 2 times -3, that'd be a -6. Bring down the equal sign, bring down the y, the -2. It's almost in slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept is y by itself. We already got rid of the parentheses by distributing the m. We now need to get rid of this y1 term, in this case the -2. We need to get rid of that by doing the opposite, which would be +2 and +2. And ladies and gentlemen, now you have y by itself. Y equals mx plus b. Y equals 2x minus 4. So your point slope form was up here. Your slope intercept is right here. And we still need standard form. And standard form is simply ax plus by equals c. You don't want fractions? We don't have fractions, so we don't have to worry about that. If I did have like a 2/3, I'd multiply everything by 3 to get rid of the fraction. But I don't have fractions, so all I need to do is get the x's and the y's on the left side of the equal sign and the number by itself on the right side. Well, here's my x. I need to be on the left side with the y. Again, ax plus by equals c. So how do you get rid of that 2x? You're going to subtract 2x. So you take away 2x and you take away 2x and you rewrite the whole thing. That's going to be a -2x plus y equals -4. Ladies and gentlemen, that's standard form. Now, if you're taking a multiple choice test, it might be written with the a value being positive, which means you would change all the signs. So it'd be a positive 2x, a -1y, and a positive 4. That's standard form as well. Standard form. Okay, so we have all three forms: point slope form, slope intercept form, and standard form. Also, if I had the point slope form, I did have the point slope form, and I changed it to slope intercept, but if I have a line, I wouldn't even have to do it algebraically. I could just say, well, what's my slope of this line? Oh, it's up 2 over 1, so my slope is 2. What's my b value? My b value is my y-intercept, which is -4. So if you know the m and you know the b, it's going to be y equals 2x minus 4. There it is, y equals 2x minus 4. So I did it both algebraically by distributing and moving, or you could have done it visually by identifying the m and the b and plugging it into y equals mx plus b form. So this is a problem where I went through all three forms. Let's check out another one. Again, it's always going to be the same type of question. It's always, the notes are on the wall, and they're in order on how you need them. If I give you 2 points, get the slope. Once you have the slope and the points, write it in point slope form. You want to change to slope intercept, distribute and move that over. You'll have y by itself. It'll be in slope intercept. You want to change it to standard form, move that over by subtracting it, then it'll be in standard form. It's the same process over and over and over, just asked differently with different information. So for example, right here, I tell you that your line passes through these 2 points. You could label them x1, y1, x2, y2. And of course, the notes have that first part as a slope formula, okay? So the slope formula is y2 minus y1 equals x2 minus x1. So m equals division, subtraction. y2 is 5, y1 is 1, x2 is 7, x1 is 5. When you do the math, we get 5 take away 1, which is a 4 up on top. 7 take away 5 is 2 on the bottom. So our slope is 2 over 1, or a nicer way of saying it is just m equals 2. Are you with me? And again, looking at our notes, once you have the slope, you can move on to point slope form. So I have my slope. I need a point. Well, I have 2 points. So I'm going to use the x1, y1 to write it in point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. But of course, I'm going to write it with blank spots. Y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. So my y1 value is up here, 1. Put that right there. My m value is 2. So put that right there where the m is at. And my x1 value is 5. Put the 5 right there where the x1 is supposed to be at. Ladies and gentlemen, this is in point slope form. We got the first form down. The next form is slope intercept, which is why I put the next form down on the wall, slope intercept. Because it's really easy to change from point slope to slope intercept. Just distribute and move. Distribute the 2 and move the -1. So distribute the 2. 2 times x 2x. 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. Bring down the equal sign, bring down y minus 1. All I need to do is move that minus 1 to the other side to get y by itself. I don't want this minus 1. Get rid of it by doing the opposite, plus 1. We do to one side, do to the other, plus 1. You're going to have y by itself. Y equals 2x. The slope is 2. And then the b value is minus 9, because negative 10 plus 1 is negative 9. And this right here is slope-intercept form. Slope-intercept form, y is by itself. Finally, the last one, standard form. It's really easy to change slope-intercept to standard. All you have to do is subtract that x term, move it to the other side. So get this x term, move it to the other side, so it'll be ax plus by equals c, which in this case is negative 9. So we're going to get rid of that 2x by subtracting 2x and subtracting 2x. So we're just going to rewrite it. Write the x term first, negative 2x plus y, or plus 1y if you want, equals negative 9. That right there is standard form. Sometimes, if you're taking a multiple choice test, they may write it, the a value is positive, which means you multiply everything by negative 1. So it could be written as negative 2x plus y equals negative 9, or it could be written as positive 2x minus y equals positive 9. And there's your standard form right there, all three forms, okay? Now, I need you to understand that most questions are going to be a lot faster, a lot easier, because I'm not going to ask you to write it in all three forms. I may just give you the point and a point and tell you write it in point-slope form. You're done right here. Or I may tell you write it in slope-intercept form, okay? Point, point, do the slope, write it in point-slope form, and then change it to slope-intercept, and then you're done right there. So most of the time, it'll be faster than this, okay? Let's try another question. And of course, sometimes it's really easy. Like right here, what do I give you? I give you a point, an x1, y1 point, and I also give you a slope. So what form would you use? Point-slope form. If I give you a point and a slope, use point-slope form. That's y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. Use blank spots. Y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. So the y1 is 2, that's right there. The slope is 3, that's pretty obvious. And the x1 value is negative 1. And of course, the minus minus changes to plus plus. So if they did ask you to write your equation in point-slope form, this would be it. You're done. I didn't give a form. I didn't ask for a form. I'm going to go through all three of them, right? So what if they asked me to write it in not point-slope, but slope-intercept? Well, then just distribute and then do the opposite to get y by itself. So let's distribute the 3. 3 times x is 3x. 3 times 1 is 3. Bring down the equal sign, bring down the 2, the minus, and the y. You almost have y by itself. All you have to do is get rid of that minus 2 by doing the opposite of minus 2. Plus 2, plus 2. Here you go. Y equals, the slope is 3 with an x, and the b value is plus 5. There's your slope-intercept form equation. And now for standard form, all I have to do is move that x term to the other side. So all I have to do is move this x term to the other side. So we are going to subtract 3x, rewrite it. Negative 3x plus y equals 5. That's your standard form equation. But it could also be written by multiplying everything by a negative 1, making that first term positive. 3x minus y equals negative 5. That's another equally correct answer for standard form. Point-slope form, slope-intercept form, standard form. Again, it's like doing the same question over and over and over, but of course I present the question or I present the information differently each time. For example, on this one, it says write the equation of the line that passes through this point and is perpendicular. Whenever you see the word parallel or perpendicular, I am indirectly giving you a slope, right? Just remember, parallel means the same slope as this one. Perpendicular means opposite reciprocal slope of this one. So this slope right here is negative 2, and technically it's negative 2 over 1. But my slope, if it's perpendicular to this one, is going to be an opposite reciprocal slope. So you're going to change that to a positive, and you're going to flip it, and it's going to become 1/2. So our slope is positive 1/2. So on this equation, what do I really give you? I give you a point the point negative 4 comma 3, which is a x1, y1, and a slope. So if I give you a point and a slope, you're going to go for point slope form, right? Again, it's the same question over and over and over. It's just presented differently. I give you different ways of giving you different information. But right here, I have a slope, I have a point, I want to go for point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m parenthesis x minus x1. So leaving blank spots, right here, the y1, right? Y1 right here is going to be a 3. So I put a 3 right in there. My slope, we said, was 1/2 because it was perpendicular to this one. So my slope has to be positive 1/2. And my x1 value is a negative 4. That goes right in there, negative 4. Change the minus minus to plus plus. If the instructions would have said, write this equation in point slope form, I would be done. This is my answer in point slope form. My equation in point slope form. Y minus 3 equals 1/2 x plus 4. That's point slope form. But what if they would have said, write it in slope intercept form? Well, you don't want the parentheses. You're going to distribute. So we're going to distribute the 1/2. That's pretty easy to do. 1/2 times x is 1/2 x. 1/2 times 4 is 2. Bring down the equal sign, bring down the y, the minus 3. You almost have y by itself. All you have to do is add 3 right there. Plus 3, plus 3. You're going to end up with y equals, the slope is 1/2. You have it with an x, and the b value happens to be plus 5. So there's your slope-intercept form equation. This one was point slope. This is slope-intercept. All we need left is standard form, which is ax plus by equals c. So all we need to do is move this x term to the other side to have the x's and y's on the left side of the equal sign. So all we have to do is move this over to the other side. Oh, in addition to that, you don't want fractions. So how would you get rid of the fraction 1/2? Multiply everything by what? 2. So when we multiply y times 2, that's a 2y. When we multiply 1/2 times 2, that would cancel out, and that would be a 1x. And when you multiply 5 times 2, that'll be a 10. So multiplying everything by 2, you end up with 2y equals 1x plus 10. And now for standard form, you would move the x to the left side by subtracting 1x, So your standard form equation will be a negative 1x plus 2y equals 10. And of course, you could change all the signs to have that first term positive. Either way, it's totally fine. That's your standard form, or that's your standard form. Standard. Okay, so we have our point slope, we have our slope intercept, we have our standard. Again, it's the same math problem done exactly the same over and over and over. How do you do it? You do it with these notes right here. Okay? And they're in the order that will help you work it out. Slope first if you don't have the slope. Once you have the slope and a point, go for point slope form. It's really easy to change from point slope to slope intercept. Distribute the m. Move that to the other side. You'll have y by itself. It's really easy to change from slope intercept to standard. All you have to do is subtract that x, then it'll be in standard. Let's look at another question. This one right here. I have all the notes I need on the board. Here they are, right? So I need to write this in standard form, but what information do they give us? They give us a slope, that's the m value, m equals negative 3, and they also give us what? They give us a b value. It crosses the y-axis at 2. I mean, you could say that that's a point, the location 0, 2, and you could use the point and the slope to write it in point slope form. But if it gives you a y-intercept, that's the b value, which means you could actually skip this one and just plug in the m and the b, and you'll have your slope-intercept form equation. So because the m is negative 3 and the b is 2, we could write our equation in y equals mx plus b form. Now, they didn't ask for it in y equals mx plus b form. They want it in standard form, but it's really easy to change from this to this. All you got to do is get rid of that x, move it to the other side. So get rid of this x, move it to the other side. So you would subtract 3x, and you'll have negative 3x plus y equals 2. And that's it. That's your standard form equation. You could also write it as a positive 3x minus y equaling a negative 2. So again, it's the same thing over and over and over, but this one's even easier. I didn't give you 2 points. You didn't have to use a slope formula. I gave you a slope, and technically I gave you a point. That's the location 0, 2. So I could have used point slope form, but it's a lot easier to understand that that's more than a point. It's the y-intercept. It's the b value. So I have a slope and a y-intercept. I could do slope-intercept form and then just change it to standard form. This next question says, write the standard form equation of the line that has the x-intercept of negative 3 and passes through the point 3, negative 2. Okay, guys, so what am I giving you on this problem? What am I giving you? Is this a b value? No, that's not the y-intercept. It's the x-intercept. So what am I really giving you right there? I'm telling you that it crosses the x-axis at negative 1, 2, 3. That really means I'm giving you a point. What is that point? That's a location negative 3, 0. Are you with me? So I'm actually giving you a point, negative 3, 0. And I also give you another point because it tells you that it passes through that coordinate. So we have that point and this point, negative 3, or actually positive 3, negative 2, I'm sorry. So I give you 2 points. So what are you going to start with? What could you do with 2 points? It's on the board and it's in order. Slope formula, right? So m equals, as you could see, y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I recommend doing the division and the subtractions and then plugging in your x, y, your first point, your second point. So y2 is negative 2, y1 is 0, x2 is 3, x1 is negative 3. Again, y2, y1, x2, x1. Change the minus to plus. What do we have here? Up on top, we have a negative 2. On the bottom, we have a 6. So the slope is reduced 2 over 6. Reduced by 2, it'll be a negative 1/3. That's your slope. So far, we have some points and we have a slope. We found the slope. Now we have some points and a slope. Go for point slope form. So point slope form, as you could read right here, is y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. I recommend always writing it with blank spots. Y minus y1 equals m parentheses x minus x1. The m value is negative 1/3. That goes in front of the parentheses. The y1 happens to be 0. And I'm picking this y instead of that y because I happen to label this one as y1. Not only that, 0 is easier to work with, I would say. And also x minus x1. x1 is negative 3. So negative 3 goes right in there. Change it to plus, and there's your point slope form equation. If they would have asked for point slope form, you would be done right there. Y minus 0 equals negative 1/3, parentheses x plus 3. However, they want it in standard form. So we have the point slope form. Let's now change it to slope intercept by distributing and moving. And then after that, we'll just move the x over to the other side. So let's distribute negative 1/3 times x. That is negative 1/3 x. Let's distribute negative 1/3 times positive 3. That's going to be a negative 1. And if you struggle with that, the Casio calculator could actually do that for you. Bring down the equal sign, bring down the y, the minus 0. So I almost have slope-intercept form. I almost have y by itself. Actually, I do have y by itself because y take away 0 is exactly that. It's just y. Y take away 0 is exactly that, y. And then you have y equals negative 1/3 x, and then plus the b value, in this case minus 1. So here's your slope-intercept form equation. If they would have asked for slope-intercept, that would be your answer. But they asked for standard, write the standard form, bless you. So we need to move it x's and y's to the left side, and you don't want fractions. So right here, to get rid of this fraction, what do? Multiply everything by what? 3. So I'm going to multiply the y times 3. That'll give me a 3y. I'm going to multiply the 1/3 times 3, and the 3 will cancel out, which will leave me a negative 1x. And then I'm going to multiply the negative 1 times 3, and that'll give me a negative 3. It's almost in standard form. All I have to do is get the x term to the left side. The x term, I need to get it to the left side. So this x term, I need to move it over there. How? By doing the opposite of minus 1x, which is a plus 1x. Cancels out, plus 1x. Here's your final standard form equation. A positive 1x plus 3y equals a negative 3. That's your standard form equation right there. Again, it's pretty much all the same. It's all the same stuff, guys. It's all the same type of question. I just give you different types of information, right? It all boils down to this right here. Do we know that when we have 2 points, we could do the slope formula? Once you have that slope, you could put the slope right there and one of the points right here, and you'll have it in point-slope form. After that, if you want to change the slope-intercept, get rid of the parentheses by distributing and by moving this over to the other side, and you'll have y by itself, and it'll be in slope-intercept. And after that, if you need it in standard form, subtract this term, move it to the other side, and you'll have your ax plus by equals c. It's that simple, guys. I hope this helps. Let's work on our practice test and study for the test tomorrow, okay?